Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Resident Alien Season 4, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, opening with that flashback from 20 years ago, I was so curious to see where that was going to go. Obviously, diving into like Ben and Darcy and their kind of was something, but it never was, because Darcy told him how she felt, and I love him just being completely oblivious, being like, I miss you too, but she's like, no, like, I like you, but he's like, I liked you. He later says it now, present day, where I did like you too, I was just too scared to say anything, and you've always been an extremely honest person about how things are, and obviously how that thematically resonates throughout the entire episode, and how that comes back later in the episode, because Kate and Ben have two different thoughts about the Darcy thing. They're like, okay, so either Darcy's an alien, which is what Kate's thinking, or she was abducted is what Ben is thinking, which is understandable that he would take that perspective on it, because like obviously him and Darcy have known each other for a long time, so it never crossed his mind like, oh, she's an alien. Or it's like, no, I've known Darcy since we were kids, so like I know she's a good person, so like she's most likely a victim in all of this too, which is like, oh, maybe she had a child that was abducted, and so maybe, you know, Kate starts thinking, oh, maybe Darcy's going through the exact same thing I did, so we have to question her about it. Which Darcy's already dealing with. The fact is, her, Kayla, and Asta, as well as Harry, but mainly that trio, trying to discuss like what the plan is for Kate and Ben's child. Like, what do we do in this situation? It's like, well, we can't tell them the truth because the Greys still check in on them. We see that from the recordings, which I love. Kayla's like, please stop telling me all the illegal crap you're doing, and then accidentally kind of brings it up in front of Jay, because she's like, wait, I thought Jay knew. Wait, she doesn't know? It's like, no, of course she doesn't know. Kayla's like, well, I wouldn't know. I'm like one of the last people who knows, because apparently everyone else knows. It's like, to be fair, other people have come to the conclusion about aliens, like Mike, like Liv, came to those on their own, per se, versus like everyone else kind of getting read in. I mean, you know, obviously like Darcy being finally told about everything, because that was like a point of contention in hers and Asa's relationship a little while back. So, but yeah, like how, like holding on to this secret, knowing they know what happened to Ben and Kate's baby, that it's taken care of, but it's like they don't even want to let them know, because it's like, if they tell Ben and Kate, the Greys will know, oh, Darcy and them know exactly where the baby is, and they'll come after him. So it puts him in a tough spot, especially later on when Ben and Kate are like, okay, we'll be subtle about this, and then Ben is as blunt as possible and just kind of like, do you know anything about alien abductions or whatever? And so they're trying to be coy about it, but Darcy's seeing through it, so it's like, cool. They're questioning me about things. Obviously, Harry knew about, like, oh, her memories being there about her baby being abducted, her being abducted. But then it's like, oh, I thought she talked to her husband about it during her sex, you know, during some hot sex and stuff. And they're like, why didn't you tell us about that? He's like, a patient's sex life is between them and their doctor. And I'm just like, you fucking pervert. Kind of enjoying that a little too much, that you're thinking about their sex life, even though they don't include or talk about their sex life. But Darcy was hoping, like, well, now that they're remembering, it's okay. But it's like, no, it's still not okay, because the Greys can still pump them for information. So it leads to this heartbreaking scene later in the episode where Darcy is confronted by Ben, and Ben's like, you've always been an honest person, so I know there's something there. Like, if there's something, even if it's about aliens, whatever the case may be, is there something you haven't told me? And she's like, no. And he's like, she's like, swear on like that teacher's, was it fiat or whatever, is like the same, you know, it all coming full circle from that conversation 20 years ago. And it sucks because she knows how sucky of a situation it is, and she's lying to Ben and Kate, but it's for good reason. But it's like that guilt is riddling her, because it's like, it's not like we're not doing anything. It's just we're stuck in this neutral ground of like, we're not really making a choice. It's just kind of the choice is kind of being made for us in order to protect them. And she feels so guilty because, you know, it's like, obviously like her and Kate became close, but obviously her and Ben have history. So she's looking at him, and you see her just good on Alice, you know, when she's able to like do those, like, she does such a beautiful job as Darcy, especially in those very beautiful emotional moments like that, where you just see the tears welling up in her eyes and her just like swallowing it, because she's trying so hard, because there's a part of her that just wants to scream it and wants to admit it to Ben, but she has to swallow that like that guilt, swallow like wanting to tell the truth because the truth comes with a price. Sometimes the truth is a good thing, but there is a double-edged sword to it in this regard. And just the beautiful nature of her calling up Judy, and Judy's already in the bar. And like, oh, I'll meet you over at the 59. And it turns, it's like, oh, I'm here. And it's just like Darcy laughing. It's like, it's so beautiful that she could count on her bestie. Time and time again. You already counted on her early in the episode, which we'll get to in a second. But I think it's beautiful that, like, she's not alone in that moment. I mean, yes, like, Asta's our other bestie, but, like, Judy's a different situation because it's like, this is a person you can, like, get sloshed with. Whereas, like, Asta, you know what Asta's going to say, and it's just like Judy provides a different facet, like, as an outsider to the situation. Either she's going to spill the beans to Judy, and it's like, well, hope that Judy can keep her mouth shut, or I don't know. But it's like, I think it's always nice to have that outside perspective and that friend who's outside of this whole crazy situation. It's just, because once again, it's also, Judy's not going to ask questions. Judy's going to accept it as it is. Like, yo, bud, let's hang out. Let's do this. And it's going to take her mind off of things, I think. If she's, like I said, not going down the route of telling Judy anything. But I do love that they had to bring Judy into the fold because it's like, oh, we need to dig a grave for the Mantic corpse. So, yeah, we need someone to do it, and Judy does it. And it's like, oh, you used to work at a cemetery? She's like, yeah, they used to call me Deep Hole Judy, because that was my nickname before I started working. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Judy. But she's like, okay, how deep, how wide, and how deep do you want the hole to be? Who are we burying? Like, does it have anything with that killer on the loose? And it's like, no. And then she's like, actually, it's none of my business. Once again, no questions asked. And like, I love the little tune that she sings. And the last line being like, kissing a girl once doesn't make you gay. I'm digging this hole. Who's it for? I don't know. Something like that. I love it so much. And even later on, Asta and Darcy are like, holy shit. This hole is perfect. I don't get it. She wears daily contacts for a month straight, and she can literally dig a hole where these 90-degree angles are perfect. It's like, she's an enigma. And even Darcy's like, yeah, sometimes she can't even button her shirt right. And even later on, it's like, wait, did Judy send you a survey? And Asta's like, yeah. It gave her 5 stars. Darcy's like, yeah, me too. It's like, the results are there. Once again, very ride or die person Judy is. You gotta love her. But yeah. So, kind of staying on the killer front, obviously, there's the Mike and Liv of it all, where, hey, we know the truth about this situation. And, it's like, oh, do you want to tell Lena the truth? But he's like, no, I don't want to look at Lena. I don't want Lena looking at me like the way I used to look at you, and Liv being like, yeah, nobody wants that. You're just like, oh, that's so sad. Like, Liv getting like those defeated looks on her face. You're just like, oh, it sucked when Mike would look at you that way. He kind of recognizes how much of an asshole thing that is, but he also doesn't want to threaten like the relationship. Like, him and, Lena had a little bit of a tumultuous situation last season, but no, they're in a good space. They're in a better place, obviously. So he doesn't want to ruin that. He doesn't want to scare her away by telling the truth, because he is someone who didn't believe, and now he does believe, because she's trying to, Liv is assuring him, like, you saw what you saw. You aren't crazy. So it's okay to, like, let yourself believe and be scared to tell someone the truth. That's not the easiest thing. Liv has struggled with that time and time again. So, which I love that she's still missing out on seeing things. So it's like she sets up cameras just in case the Mantic comes back. But it's like, no, I want to make sure this place is set up and protected, in case Lena comes by. But her partner's like, yeah, but it's like 80% you just want to see an alien, right? She's like, I mean, it's 90, but she's like, it's not right. She's like, everyone else gets to see an alien. Hell, even you got to see the Loch Ness monster. I was like, well, are you sure it was actually Loch Ness and not like a log? He's like, what happened to us believing each other? She's like, I'm sorry. She's like, I'm jealous and I'm venting a little bit. I'm projecting because, like, I want to see an alien so bad, and I continue to be the only person who doesn't. I think by the end of this season, maybe it'll happen a little sooner, but I think Liv's going to see that alien. It's just a matter of when and under what circumstances. It's going to be interesting, too, because they are looking for the Mantic, but the Mantic's dead and buried, so not unless someone digs up the body, because it's most likely going to be in its, like, natural alien form, so somebody's going to stumble across that body, maybe, and then that's where that's going to come into place. But either way, we had Mike bringing this up to Lena about the alien and her not believing him, which is so interesting for him to finally be on that other side of this whole thing, because once again, Liv has always been in that situation, and she didn't want to believe him. For him, it's like that look from inquisitive to neutral. It's like, I want to see belief on your face, but she's just kind of like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't believe. He's like, I just, it's like, right. And, he's kind of almost like, we're both skeptical people. We have to accept things as they are. You have to see it for yourself. I get that. I saw this, but you won't believe me. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So, but they have this really beautiful moment later in the episode where he's like, I get it. We don't always have to agree. There's things we don't agree on. She's like, yeah, creme brulee is good. And he's like, it's disgusting. But he's like, I believe in aliens and you don't. And he's like, and that's okay. He's like, but the thing is, this is the most dangerous thing. And it's like, I love you. And I want to, or he's like, basically, I want to protect the people I love. So when you're out there, just, even if you don't believe in aliens, just be extra careful. And she's like, I will. But what was that other thing you said? He's like, I don't know. She's like, son, you said you love me. And it's super adorable. He's like, well, if I said it, I said what I said and I meant it, type of thing. And it's really cute and adorable. I'm glad, They make such a good pair together. So I'm like, I'm so happy for them. So yeah. But yeah, like Lena's not as much in danger. Granted, there are other things to worry about. In the middle of all of this, like the Greys got their larger part in all of this. So Lena could always get caught up in that. Because, he saw a Grey, but he doesn't know the grander scheme of everything that's going on. They're just focused on the Mantid. Not unless that thing comes back to life. It's like, oh, you have to do a lot to make sure it's dead, but it seems pretty dead, but not unless there's going to be a little bit more to that, but we'll have to wait to see. So, other than that, a main crux of this episode revolves around Harry and Heather. It's like, oh, Daddy, here's all your little bird children. Also, I don't find Heather as attractive, especially in her bird form. In fact, she disgusts me, and I can't tell her that I'm human. And making out with her and her bulging eyes and her beak and everything and her beak fuzz, and it's just like, ugh, it all makes me want to throw up. It's sad that everything that Harry used to love as his alien self, he can't love. Once again, like milk. I love that line when he's talking to Asta at the end of the episode. He's just like, I hate myself with how much I hate milk. And he's like, I hate myself for how much I love almond milk. I love that. But he's trying to keep this going. And he's like, as long as Heather stays in her human form, it's fine. Also, that scene of her basically feeding the children involves her throwing up into a Ziploc bag. And she's like, oh, I thought it'd be more. Just seeing her just, it's just like, and just Asta and Darcy having to watch that. Also them like sexually flirting, and it's like, oh, like using like return and warranty metaphors for sex. It's like, oh, I'm gonna give it to you and I'm gonna take it back. It's like, well, you're gonna give it to me. And I'm like, oh, I was so like, once again, like, I think I talked about this before, like the behind the scenes, like literally Edie sucking on Alan's tongue. I'm like, that's gotta be like, once again, I think it's, you gotta give them props for like, yo, they're going for the bit, and it's like, this is gonna be like the weirdest, uncomfortable thing, but like we're leaning into it because it's so funny. I think someone talked about it. I don't remember if it's something I read or someone commented about like how much of that shit's like improv and stuff. But like her literally sucking his tongue, I was like, that's gotta be so weird doing that to your coworker for a TV. But it's probably just a thing of, oh my god, this is gonna be the most unhinged thing ever. Let's do it. Like it's gotta. I will be so shocked if that turned out to be like expressly scripted. I feel like that had to be like an improv moment or something like that. But I was just like, it's just the notion of like, oh, like, I mean, I don't know why, like. It's specifically seeing, like, if you were in a situation where like a partner ends up sucking your tongue on a personal level, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think it's like specifically in the context of seeing them do it just makes it, like, it's seeing other people do it that's kind of weird, but there's also something sweet and intimate about it. And it could be sexy, but it's not sexy in that moment. There's other things that can make that, like someone sucking on someone's tongue sexy, and like I said, in an intimate situation with your partner, sure, on a personal level, but watching people do it, and because it's meant to be for comedic purposes, it's meant to be disgusting, so it is disgusting, so I don't know, there's just layers to that, but yeah, Harry's struggling, continue to struggle with the being human thing, which he had to come to terms with. And now it's kind of like, well, here's a wrinkle in it where it's like, yeah, the woman you love is back, and she wants to make things work. And it's like, hey, as long as she stays in her human form, it's fine. But there's the whole conversation about Harry being like, I don't have to tell her, even though Asta's like, yeah, but, that's part of life. Like, are you going to keep, like, she will love you if you tell her the truth. And she does ultimately. She still loves him, like, human or not. She's like, you're the love of my life. And it's the situation of, like, are you always going to live your life hiding a part of yourself from her? And that actually comes full circle later on when Harry has to let her go for that same reason. Which is interesting, too, when you actually think about it in a larger context of, like, the metaphor. Because, if you love something, let it go and it'll fly back to you, like the whole bird metaphor. And when it comes to love, and it's like, well, she's an avian alien, so Harry does tell her the truth. But yeah, she proposes to him and everything, because it's like, we can make this work. It's like, even if I have to reduce myself to only having one vagina, if that's how this works, then perfectly fine, I'll be with you. And it's like, cool. Like, how racist is your dad? And she's like, he's pretty racist against humans. He hates humans. And then all of a sudden, he shows up in their beautiful, sweet candlelit dinner and proceeds to attack Harry. And he's running his mouth, being like, oh, you'll never see a dime from this family, yada, yada, yada. And Harry's hearing it, too. It's not like it's just Heather. And I love, he's like, I didn't touch her cloaca. But yeah, Heather still wants to make this work. But Harry's like, no, because your family is important to you, and you would have to give it up because your dad would be like, you can't see me or your mom or the rest of your family again if you make this decision. And she's like, well, we'll start a new family. And for him, it's like, you disgust me. And she's like, okay. He's like, disgusting. She's like, what? He's like, sorry, human words are so hard. You disgust me. She's like, that's not any better. He's like, I can only accept you in your human form, and that's not right to you. You should find someone who loves you for all that you are. He's like, when I became human, he's like, who I am as a human is all the good stuff about me was taken away, and this human Harry is all that's left. And it's like, you deserve to be with someone who will love you like with what we had, who will love you and accept you as you are. But she's like, no, we can make it work. And it's like, it shouldn't have to be a thing of making it work, There are situations where it shouldn't be like, yes, love can be hard, but it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't have to be like, you have to climb mountains to make it work. It should come easy in some regards. So it is sad that he has to let her go. But it's like, yeah, choosing her happiness above his own. Granted, it still leaves you sad. And I love that conversation he has with Asta where it's like, she's like, yeah, there's bad when it comes to being human, but there's also good. And he's like, well, when is it good? She's like, I can't tell you when. It's like, things are going to be bad, then they're going to be good, then they're going to be bad, and they're going to be good again. She's like, it's the whole cycle of being human. The paradox of being human is like, life will never just be one thing. There is good, there is bad. Sadly, life can like stockpile a lot of bad on you, so it isn't always even. Like there might be more bad times than good. You can hope and try to put yourself in a situation where there's like, it potentially balances out, but that's the human condition of the good and the bad, And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see where things kind of go from here. They had that whole conversation too about like, oh, she's like, it's kind of like the different forms of like the tide. And Harry's like, well, when I think about the tide, I think about the moon that's actually an alien base where they steal babies. And Asta's like, yeah, I've been having a hard time looking up at the moon lately too. It's like, it kind of takes some of the wonder and luster out of it. Oh, how beautiful the moon is, when you're like, oh, there's something so sinister and disgusting happening behind the scenes throughout all of this. That is it does seem like Heather took the children, so she's probably like moving back with her parents with Harry's kids. Which is sad because like he will have children out there that he won't really be the father for, but it's like she'll probably be like, oh, your father Harry was this and that, but he's not an alien. There's that. There's always a possibility of his children coming back to visit him, maybe when they're older from time to time. So yeah, Heather will find someone, and maybe Harry will too. Maybe Asta. Once again, I keep like shipping them together. I even love like Heather was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have my sister be my bridesmaid." He's like, "Who's your best man going to be?" And Harry's like, "Oh, Asta." And it's like, "Oh, that's sweet." And she's like, "Well, it's kind of weird that your best man's going to be a woman," but it's like, I mean, I get it wording wise, but it's also like, well, Asta is like the one human he cares about the most. He likes a lot of other humans, but Asta's the one he cares about the most. She is his best friend, so understandable. Funny enough, like I mean, it's kind of a similar thing. I had a friend. I talked to my friend Anna like years ago, where I was like, I think I talked about her. Like, I was like, man, if I ever like got married, I would want you to be like my best man, and she kind of accepted. Once again, this was me, like pipe dream me, because I don't know if I'll ever get married. I always flip flop on that discussion, but this was like a teenager who was like, I'm a hopeless romantic and I have a very like fantasized notion of love and stuff like that, especially when I was younger, when we were having those conversations. So, but yeah. But I was like, yeah, like, I'd love you to be my best man. I think it'd be sick, you know? So it's one of those situations where I'm like, nah, I get Harry in that department. So, I mean, I'm sure it happens. It's probably not that often, but I'm sure it happens. But yeah, either way, I just thought that was just kind of interesting. And like I said, I'm curious to see where things got to go on the children front. And also, like, you know, what's next for Harry? Because next episode, he's definitely going to be wallowing in his heartbroken depression. So, because he was depressed after Heather, like, kind of bailed, even though, like, well, he now knows it was because Joseph threatened her and her family, but still, this is a different type of heartbreak. It's different circumstances because you're the one that kind of had to let go for her sake to make sure she was happy, and it kind of cost you your happiness, but you're also, like, at the same time that you're sad, you're also happy that that person is potentially off being happy too, so... And then finally, we have the ending of the episode, which my immediate thought was, oh my god, Darcy's going to come out of nowhere and explain it to Kate. She doesn't. It's actually the Greys that confront her in human form, being like, hey, yo, we can find you anywhere. Oh, here, you left this behind, your tracker. You can take it out if you want, but we will always be able to track you and know what you're up to. You can't escape us. So hopefully this plays a little bit into why Kate and Ben might be like more okay with any lies that Darcy says, because maybe they'll be like, well, maybe Darcy's lying for our sake, but Ben might be like, it's hard to say, because when he walked away, it seemed like he knows Darcy's lying, but he doesn't want to push it. But it's like, either Ben's going to be like, no, Darcy told me. He's going to tell Kate that and try to pretend like he 100% believes her, even though he does himself have doubts. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, obviously, that was a very sinister thing. We already know that the Greys are watching her and Ben, but it's like, it's even scarier for them to be like, no, we want you to know we're watching you, and you're not escaping us. You think just taking that tracker out will do it? It's like, no, we know where you are. We know what you're going to do. Like, there is no escaping us, and just how, like, a sinister note to leave the episode off on. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us. Going forward with all of this, we're going to be hitting the halfway point in this season, so it's going to be interesting to see what that sets up for the back half of the season, setting pace for all that stuff. So, but yeah, really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.